up, family? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva, and knowledge, Lady Mocha. Represent Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. I know it's been a while since I uploaded, y'all, so I got different things going on, trying to get my business up and going. Still doing that, my crafts and stuff. Also doing glitter tumblers, so that's the new journey I've been on, doing glitter tumblers, which is a lot more extensive compared to what I'm usually doing. So got a different crafts and projects going on. Nevertheless, I'm also going to school, getting some training and something. So I've been pretty busy. So nevertheless, I try to squeeze in and do content whenever I can. So nevertheless, I wanted to get into this right away before I got too busy and tied up. I wanted to talk about womb hustling and does it really exist? And the reason I felt it was imperative for me to discuss this because there's a lot of misconceptions. Someone's in my tooth. There's been a lot of different debates and perspectives surrounding this particular topic, this particular matter. And I wanted to kind of, give my own intake. I wanted to reiterate a little bit more on this about womb hustling. And does it really exist? Is this something that women do for a living as a form of survival? Or is this something that is not really planned, that women are in a position, that women have been put in a situation in which they were pretty much forced to take these means to survive? Or is this something that they intentionally do on their own as a source of survival? So I want to give my intake on this, and let me first start off by saying this. I will say that not all single mothers are single mothers at their own will. A lot of women have been forced to be single mothers because the father of their children have died, whether if it was from violence or we've seen young Dolph, the mother of his two children became a single mother because he was taken from some other ruthless black males. So it's a lot of women that are single mothers because the father of their children have been taken recklessly and maliciously, and they didn't sign up for it. So not every woman that's a single mother signed up for it. Like I said again, a lot of women are becoming single mothers due to gun violence. Some women are single mothers because they had the father of their children are in the military, and maybe he passed away in his line of duty. Some men have passed away because of accidents, injuries on the job. So life happens. So every time you see a single mother with a couple of children and there's not a man with her, it does not mean she's one of those single mothers who brought it upon herself. Life happens. We've seen Lauren London lose Nipsey Hussle, who is a father to one of her sons, and also a father to another daughter he had on the outside before he got with Lauren. So not all single mothers are single mothers because of negligence or being irresponsible or trying to womb hustle. Some women are also single mothers because the marriage did not work out. You can do the right thing, get married, things still don't work out, okay? Either the husband didn't want to be a husband. Maybe he decided being a husband and being a father was too much of a responsibility for him, so he abandoned his family and left her to have to be the one to hold the bag. So you do have women out there who did do it the right way, did get married, did follow the tradition and the rules, and still striked out. It happens. You can't make a man husband you or be a dedicated father. If it's too much or he realizes that this is just too overwhelming for him, you have some men that are cowards. They will walk away, they will leave, they can't handle the responsibility. So you have women that end up being single moms out of circumstances that are beyond their control. However, I want to give the exceptions out the way before Pukisha come in the comment section and get mad and get in her feelings. You have other women, on the other hand, who do use womb hustling as a source of survival in order to make it, in order to survive, in order to receive financial contribution and income. So I wanted to kind of get more into womb hustling because, for one, a lot of people do not think that this exists. They don't think that there are women who are out here intentionally getting pregnant as a means to survive. And I don't knock the people who don't believe this, the people who don't think this is true. For one, if you are a woman of substance and integrity, you're not going to think that a woman would go that far as a means of survival. You know, if you are a woman that is very independent, you have integrity, you have morals, your mind is not even going to phantom. You're not even going to even think that it's probable for women to be on this level of this of the mentality of using womb hustling as a means of financial source. And the reason why you have a lot of women who don't believe that women think like this on this level, if it's because, for one, they don't think like these women. A lot of these women who feel that womb hustling is the only means to survive, a lot of these types of women are, for one, very broken, have low self-esteem. A lot of them are very poverty stricken, came from the struggle, wasn't taught, wasn't given the upbringing that there are other ways in which a woman can build wealth for herself, can build and have things in life without having to use their vagina, you know, the weapon between their legs, in order to come up. Not all women were raised with that type of mentality. You know, you do have some women from poverty-stricken areas, from the hood, from the ghetto, who have been programmed into believing that in order for them to survive, for them to manage, other than doing it the right way, the American dream way, go to college, get a career, get a job, start your own business. If you were not raised within a family in which women who were in leadership over you, a father in the home that structured you into building and preparing yourself for the real world, teaching you the dynamics of how imperative it is to gain skills, to gain an education, in order to not have to resort to womb hustling. If you weren't raised in the hood, if you weren't raised in a poverty-stricken area, and let's say you were raised in the hood, you was raised in poverty, but you still had a mother or a father who taught you integrity, who taught you the seriousness of education, the seriousness of establishing and building a future for yourself, unless you have had that type of structure in your life, from a young woman, you're not going to think on that level. There are a lot of women, young women in the black community, and from the broken homes, from the poverty-stricken areas, that have been raised by mamas, by grandmamas, by aunties, by other broken women who have also raised them with this narrative that, girl, all you got to do to survive is if you get pregnant, all you got to do is apply for food stamps, welfare, and you're good to go. Now, I want to kind of go a little bit more into this. I want to go deeper into this. There are young women right now as we speak being groomed. Now, as I stated, this does not apply to every situation, but I don't want people being oblivious thinking that women are not out here womb hustling, because they are. They are womb hustling. Like I said, I can't speak for the other single mothers who tried to do it the right way, who did get married, marriage didn't work out, baby daddy died, or baby daddy was a coward, deadbeat. I can't speak for the women in that in that manner. I'm talking about specific women. And this doesn't apply to all black women. If it does not apply, you don't have to reply. Let it fly. I'm talking about the minority, the exceptions. They're all women out here who have been raised to womb hustle. And the reason for that is a lot of women are being raised by other women who have adopted that narrative. Welfare, food stamps, government assistance has been an entity for struggling mothers since within the country, since the beginning of time. You know, welfare was initially for women that were struggling to take care of their households due to the fact men were getting laid off from factory jobs. They were getting laid off, men who were labor or who were working, doing hard labor work. And in many instances, there were several different factors that contributed to that. A few of the factors was a lot of men got laid off, and in some cases, the ones who were laid off, stuck it out, and the wife just had to be quiet and not say that there was a man in her home, that there was not a man in her home, not because she was enabling him, because he always did work, he always did provide, but he was laid off. Life happens. But back then, they really monitored women when they were getting welfare. So if they found out that there was a man within the home, they would lose those benefits, or they would or they would have a case of fraud taken out against them, you know, in the courts of the systems, the judicial system, which they're not as strict as they were then. If anybody's seen the movie Claudine, that's pretty much how it was. You couldn't have a man staying with you, you know, or if you did have a man and you did not be honest and transparent, and they came in your house to do inspections and saw that there was man's shoes in the living room or a man's coat or whatever, you could lose your benefits. Or in worst case scenarios, if they did get laid off, they didn't even stick around and stay. They just left. Okay, they wasn't man enough to deal with the fact that they cannot provide for their families, or either they got too lazy to go back out there and start all over and find another job, and they just decided to abandon their women, their wives and stuff. And this was women who did it the right way, who got married, did the nuptials, did it the right way. You can do it the right way and still lose out. It happens. It's life. You cannot make a man want to stay a husband if he does not want the responsibilities anymore, if it's too overwhelming for him. So, nevertheless, this is where welfare was kind of initiated, you know, due to excessive job loss and men walking away from families or whatever the case was. So, nevertheless, as each generation over time, from the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, had basically learned the methods in which being able to obtain welfare assistance, as much as it continuously changed throughout each duration. Families, specifically women, were passing on the welfare tradition to their daughters. Now keep in mind, women back then needed it for a different reason and a different purpose. Women back then didn't so much have the narrative of, I just want to get on welfare because I know it's going to take care of me. Welfare back then for women within that mindset during the 60s, 70s, or whatever, it was more so about having those means until the husband got back on his feet, or having those means because the man just completely walked away and abandoned them. In other words, something had to happen um, they did not proactively do things or make decisions in order to be eligible for welfare. Unlike the women today, um, there's several families, and I don't want to be too personalized and keep sharing this information based on personal experiences myself, but some there's been situations in which a lot of women, grandmothers, great grandmothers, so forth, have passed down the knowledge of welfare. And even though the rules and the policies have changed over the years, some policies are more stricter than back then, or some are more lenient now compared to back then. The idea, the main overall purpose of welfare has not changed, whether you got it in the 60s or you getting it now. Everybody knows welfare provides for women that are in the struggle. Whether you were married, husband left, whatever the case is, welfare is there to assist women that are in the struggle. So that's the overall conception that all women have learned. All women of different races, of different ages, all women know welfare is going to help them out. Welfare is going to be there and assist them regardless if they make a good decision, bad decision, if they were married before the welfare or never married before the welfare. This we know. So a lot of women over the years have learned that welfare is going to support them with their decisions, whether if it was decisions beyond their control or decisions outside of their control. Welfare was going to be there. Welfare was going to back up women, support women, whether they did it the right way or the wrong way. So a lot of these older women who were broken, who also had lacked ambition, didn't want to go to college, didn't want to start a business, didn't want to, be independent, didn't want to go about it the American way, work hard for what you want, sacrifice, struggle, or whatever. They pass down their own narratives and their own incentives as to how beneficial welfare was to them, so they would pass it down to the other women, young women coming underneath them. And like I said, this doesn't apply for everything. You have some women who have been raised in households in which they weren't taught about welfare. They were taught about, you go to school, you get an education, you get you a job, some were even blessed to where their fathers, the leaders of their families, started a business, started a family, some type of family company or something like that, or he accumulated enough of benefits in which if he were to pass away, his wife and his children would be able to still financially be well off and not have to struggle and depend on welfare. Some women have that luxury of having a business passed down to them, or the father was responsible enough, the man of the house was responsible enough to work a profession in which if he were to pass away, his wife and his children would be taken care of for the rest of their days. So everybody didn't have that luxury. You had some women who didn't have fathers in the home, rather because the mama was smashing multiple dudes in the neighborhood, or she was married, tried to do the right thing, and the father left. Whatever the case was, the mother ended up on welfare. And instead of, and this is certain circumstances, this is not for every, this is just hypothetically in certain circumstances, in which the mother taught the daughter that you also can benefit off the system, because I benefited off the system. There's some families that there's been generations of women who benefited off of the welfare system. The grandmama was on it. She been on welfare the majority of her life, and having multiple children and making a financial means, making a living off of welfare. She taught her daughter in turn to also make a living off of the system. Now her daughter passes that same narrative down to her daughter. So there's some instances in which if you go to some of these low subsidizing areas, the projects, low income housing, whatever you want to call it, there's been some instances in which there's been 3 or 4 generations who have been raised within that same project housing. The grandmother raised her children there, the mother raised her children there, and now her daughter is raising her children there. It's 3, 4 generations of women who have lived off of welfare, and 9 times out of 10, the youngest daughter, when she makes a living off of it, she's going to pass it down to her daughter as well. And it's going to keep going. Now, mind you, welfare, the policies are going to change. They're going to tighten up on some stuff, and they're going to be lenient in other areas. But guess what? The idealism of how it's been programmed into women that you can make a living off of this, that's not going to change. It's going to keep getting passed down. It's going to be transferable from generation to generation to generation. Guess what? You mess up, you don't make the right decision on who you get knocked up from, don't worry about it. Welfare is going to compensate for it. If you do meet a deadbeat, if you don't care to make sure he's willing to build with you, plan with you, have a flame with you, don't worry about it. Just get on welfare. There have been older women who have told their daughters. Now, I will share my personal experiences. I can't speak for everybody, and statistics are very friggle to go by, because people only study what they want to make their narratives more valid. So statistics is a weird thing too. You know, you got to, however you choose to deal your hand, you know what I mean? But I've heard in instances where there's been women who told their daughters, once they found out their daughter was pregnant, the first thing they told them, well, what you need to do is go and apply for food stamps. If they knew the baby daddy was a deadbeat, she'll also tell her daughter, what you need to do is apply for child support. These are the things that are being pushed and taught. Instead of, before the daughter even gets pregnant, look, don't put yourself in a position in which you got to get on the county, because that's what's going to happen if you have a child that you can't afford, especially if it's from a deadbeat ass dude. These things are not being taught to young women before they go out here and make these decisions. It's not being taught to them. They're being taught after the fact. You have a lot of women out here, they're not proactive when it comes to their daughters. They're reactive. They wait for their daughters to go mess up their lives, ruin their lives. They're now telling them to depend on the system, versus telling them beforehand, this is what you need to do to avoid getting in a situation so you don't have to depend on child support, welfare in the first place, because there won't be a child from a deadbeat in which you would get in this situation. Again, I'm not talking about the women who did it the right way, or women who didn't get married but they did plan it with the father of the child. Something happened to him in which she had no control over it. Every single mom is not a single mom because she wants to be. Something happened. But in this instance, a lot of young women are not being taught how to avoid becoming another statistic, a welfare recipient. They're not being taught any of that. And this is the reason why the tradition keeps getting passed down. Nobody's trying to break that generational curse of poverty, that generational curse of being a welfare recipient, because women who have made this decision and they felt the aftermath, the struggles, the hardships that come along with being a single mother, they're not being transparent and sitting down and telling their daughters the real truth. They're not telling their daughters, yes, I was able to get food stamps. I was always able to feed y'all. Yes, I did get child support. Well, I was able to afford to do this and do that. But the money and the welfare didn't compensate for the fact that I had to do it all by myself. There was times I was tired. And even though I had welfare, even though I had money, it was times I needed the father to be there, because being a parent is hard. And when you don't have that support, you don't have that father, when you go smash a random multiple dudes and you're not mindful and you're not careful with who you choose to breed your seed with, be prepared that even though you will be eligible for welfare, housing, and food stamps, that there's going to be things that you're going to need more important than that, which is a real stable man in your life to alleviate the burden from you. Because welfare and food stamps and child support may alleviate you financially, but emotionally and spiritually, it cannot compensate for that support that you need as far as having a father there as well. So make sure you choose a man who wants to build with you, not a man that's just all right with giving you a few pennies once a month. So the burden is off of him. You know, all he got to do is pay once a month and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of mothers in the black community aren't being proactive. They're not sitting down having these conversations and talks with their daughters. I, for one, I had this talk with my daughter since she's been 13. Okay, I told her as a black woman what she needed to be mindful of, because I know what happens to a lot of young black women her age. They get with these young men because these young men look good, because they're well dressed, because that's how young girls think. Oh, he dresses nice, I know he got money, he got a nice car, he got money. And I had to really make my daughter understand there's more to life than looking at a man because he has money or because he's well dressed. You have to put yourself in a position in which you don't become so codependent on them that you end up shortening your own life. You end up cheating yourself out of having the best because you settle for less. You settle for anything. Not enough of mothers are doing this. They wait till their daughters get pregnant, wait till they get knocked up, and then they're telling them. Because at that point, they don't have a choice but to tell them to get welfare. They don't have a choice. Well, they do have a choice. They can tell them to go get a job. They can tell them to go the right way. But let's be honest. The mindset, the way a lot of these women think today, they're not going to do that. They're going to tell them, this is what you do. Go to the welfare office on such and such street. Talk to a caseworker. Make sure you have your ID. Make sure you bring your proof of income. They're going to keep the tradition of depending on the system alive. They're going to keep that tradition going. So you have these young women who have learned from older women who are retired womb hustlers, meaning that they had children to survive too. Now let me get into this, because a lot of people don't want to believe this. They don't want to believe that women have children to survive. First off, let me start off by saying this. Every woman does not have the mindset to want the best for herself. Let's just be clear on that. You have some women that are comfortable with doing whatever it takes to get by, doing just enough to get by. Again, you're not going to believe this if you don't have that mindset of a hood rat, if you don't have the mindset of a low common denominator female. You're not going to believe that women think like this because you don't think like this, because your mindset is not like this. So it may not make any sense, but again, you got to think from the hustling mentality of a hood rat. This is what they think. First of all, you have a lot of females out here who don't think education is important. Especially if they was raised in the hood. They was raised in a household with a mother that's not educated herself, who never did, who didn't build her life around, you know, being educated. You can't teach somebody something that you don't have. So a lot of these women that womb hustle, they don't understand the significance of an education. And education is important because women have to be educated. We have to have some form of education, not just experience, in order to survive, because women, we're almost like at the bottom of the totem pole. So we got to prove that we are worthy when it comes to the working world, when it comes to these male dominant career areas like law enforcement or construction or something. We have to have something to bring to the table that makes us different, that makes us stand out, because the world is very sexist. You know, they don't really think that we are 100% capable of being able to perform, and we don't have the mental abilities. They already down on our degrees, saying that we're already being told we're not educated enough. We're already being said that they're degrading us who are educated, saying that the degrees we have majored in, that it still doesn't have a significant purpose. So if they are down on women who are educated, if women who are educated, who got degrees, who have all of these skills and ability based off of the degrees they majored in, imagine how they feel about the women who aren't educated. Think about it. All of us who got degrees, we're still being dragged and still being told that black women, we're not worthy enough. We still have no significance to society. So imagine women who don't have a degree, who don't value education. And all it takes is a hood rat hearing that it's no purpose in black women getting a degree because they're not getting it for the right thing, and most of them drop out of school. The hood rat, that's what she wants to hear. The hood rat who really wants to womb hustle, she wants to hear that getting an education is pointless. That way she ain't got to get it. And believe it or not, the narrative is being pushed that an education is a waste of time. So because you have a lot of these people that's pushing it out there that black women getting degrees is pointless, the hood rat will take this and run with this narrative like, shit, ain't no need of me getting degrees, going to college. Not when all I got to do is apply for food stamps, apply for housing, then I'm good to go, whatever. So they don't understand the significance of education. Secondly, a lot of these women too don't understand the significance of marriage. Now, we got the black community is really attacking black marriages, attacking the idea of marriage in the black community. You have so many of these bloggers, both male and female, that it is really being very negative about black marriage, about black love, about having a black family. It's a lot of bloggers, content creators that are encouraging black men and black women from not marrying and discouraging those who want to be married. At the end of the day, no marriage is perfect. If you sit down and talk to your granddaddies, your grandmamas, they'll tell you they've been through some things. They've gone through some ups and downs, trials and tribulations, and I'm constantly hearing either female content creators shitting on black marriages, or there's either black male content creators shitting on marriage, when really marriage is what you make it. It's an individual thing. It could be a blessing for those of us who appreciate it and understand it. And it could be a curse to the rest of us who got an agenda behind it. You're only getting married because you want money, or you're only getting married so you can have a woman that you could treat as a slave. Everybody does not understand the real concept of marriage. And because of that, there's a lot of negative narratives that are being pushed, and it's discouraging people from wanting to build and have a union. And this is the reason why a lot of people they rather fornicate, because I find it funny, nobody addresses fornicating and adultery, but we are against marriage. But it's okay for us to not address men and women having casual sex, casual flings, knowing a child can be conceived out of it. Yet we are trying to discourage people from marriage, but it's okay to fornicate. We don't talk about that, because if you're telling people not to marry, then you're basically telling people it's okay to fornicate. Or because people not going to stop having sex. People not going to stop smashing, especially the black community, because the black community is very much overly sexualized, okay? So both men and women. So if you're not going to support marriage, or not support or encourage black men and black women to marry, then make sure you don't encourage them that it's okay to fornicate either. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy how we want to beat one issue with a dead horse, but we don't want to address the other stuff. It's more than just one thing that's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? In the black community. So again, you have these women, like I first said, they don't understand the significance of education, so they can build something for themselves and not have to depend on the system. Not like I also mentioned, a lot of women are not being taught or not being given the wisdom and the knowledge of preventing themselves from getting in that situation in the first place, so they don't have to depend on it. And then, like I said just now, as far as the education and the upbringing, the way women are being raised and taught, of the benefits of the system. So You have a lot of these young women, once they learn, and all it takes is when they have their first encounter with their first sexual encounter, and a child is conceived. When a young woman discovers she's pregnant out of wedlock or whatever, and she goes to her parent, and especially if her mother is a person who has depended on welfare and has a longevity track record of, consistently depending on it throughout the duration of her womanhood, that's the first thing she's going to tell her. She's going to tell her daughter where to go to apply for the benefits, how she could become eligible for the benefits. That's the first thing she's going to tell her. Once these young women find out how the system works, and they know that they can get assistance every time they have a child, it becomes a habitual thing to do. And I know a lot of y'all don't want to believe this. Y'all don't want to believe women are going around here and having babies just for welfare. The answer is yes. Yes. There are women that are having children, womb hustling, just so they can get out their mama and their daddy house. Now, keep in mind, you have women, older women who have retired from womb hustling because they're old now, they can't have kids, but their kids are having kids. And a lot of these women are telling their young daughters to go get welfare because, for one, either their daughter's living with them, so they too want to continue to benefit from welfare and food stamps. Again, I'm speaking from personal opinion. I know women who have been on welfare the majority of their life. Once their daughter get pregnant and start having grandchildren, if their daughter is still living with them, she's going to tell her, if you want to live here, you got to get welfare, you got to get food stamps, you got to get child support. It's not fair for me to be the one paying the bills, because by the time she probably in her 60s, 70s, she probably only eligible for SSI because she can't get child support or welfare hardly anymore because she up in her age. But if her daughter still lives with her, she's going to make her daughter get food stamps or welfare. That's the bottom line. If she's been getting it all her life and it's been a benefit to her, she's going to train her daughter to do the same thing. Or if not, in that case, she will convince the daughter to get housing, Section 8 food stamps and stuff, so she can get her from out of her house. You have some women, even though they done had their daughters keeping their siblings all the majority of their life, now that it's time for her to play the grandma role, and it's her turn to return a favor, and she take care of her grandkids so her daughter can work and this and that. The grandmama don't want to do that, even though when she was a young mother back in her days, she left all of her kids on her oldest daughter, who's possibly having a child of her own now. Grandma still want to go do her, okay? Or she'll keep all her kids as long as she gets that EPT card from her daughter and can put groceries and food in her household, okay? So it's one of two ways. Either she's going to tell her to get the benefits so she can keep getting them, or she wants her daughter to move out because she don't want her daughter staying with her, and she got to be an assistant to her daughter, because when your child stays with you and they have children, at some point you got to step in. You can sit up here, act all hard and say, I'm not keeping your kids, I'm not doing that. At some point, if your daughter has to work and you want her to work, you want her to help you with the bills, you can't always afford child care. Sometimes the child care waiting list for mothers who are getting governmental assistance can take forever and a day because everybody's having kids. So your child is not going to be a priority when it comes to the government, when it comes to getting all type of not WIC vouchers, but child care, peach, I know in Georgia that's what they called it or whatever, where they pay a certain percentage for your child to be in child care, but you got to be working or having a job or doing something, working a certain amount of hours a week or whatever. So anyway, so once a lot of these young women have their first child and they see they can get the food stamps, and they see they can get the WIC, and they see they can be eligible for housing and child support. Once they understand, after having that first child, how they can benefit off the system, this is what keeps the majority of them going back and having multiple children. So for those who don't think women, females, no, not me, not say women, okay, because you got women out there, if they are dependent on the system, they're not trying to make it like a permanent crutch. They're going to school, they're trying to start a business, they're doing other things so they don't have to make this a permanent thing. But these low common denominator females who don't want more out of life, who lack ambition, who ain't trying to do bigger and better things, once she learns with the first child all of what she's entitled to, because welfare has a lot of some of these females thinking, most of them thinking that they're entitled, she's going to do it a second time. She's going to do second time. You have these young females, or trifling females, or broken females, of all races, all colors, because black women aren't the only ones on welfare. I've seen some trailer park Tammys going inside the welfare office, okay? You know, the ones who think they black because they had a black baby daddy and got mulatto kids and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I've seen a couple of them. I've seen a couple of not snow bunnies, swamp bunnies. Okay, you know, the kind that look a hot mess in Walmart, but got the black man holding their hand like they're a prize, like they're Queen Elizabeth, and they're not. Anyway, that's another subject. So once she gains this concept that every time I have a child, my stamps increases, my WIC vouchers increases, she starts to, in her mind, she sees it as a reward instead of a resource. Once these young females receive all of this governmental assistance, they don't see it as a resource. They see it as a reward. In other words, again, you're not going to think women think like this unless you think on this level. All I got to do is cock up, get laid, get pregnant, and every time I get pregnant, the system is going to double my benefits based on every child that I have. There are women around here with 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, all have the same, all have different last names, or they all got the same last name, which is her last name. And a lot of them, they done got so slick with it, they start watching the time clock. That last one start getting, what, 12, 13? They know they got 5, 6 years left. They go cock up and get another one. It's called womb hustling. They know how to time. Some of them are so gifted in womb hustling, they know how to count their ovulation. You have females that's around here with ovulation apps on their phone, waiting for a sucker, waiting for a simp, waiting for a dude that's slow and knows nothing about the female anatomy, waiting to catch him slipping. He don't wear no protection, or she lie and let her know she taking birth control or whatever the case is, and she knows to catch him on ovulation when she's ovulating. And if he's slow, simple, or thirsty, he'll take the bait. And next thing he know, 9 months down the line, he's getting a letter in the mailbox saying you have to come to child support court. You do have women who do this for a living. Once they understand how the system works, once they see the benefits as a reward instead of a resource, they keep doing it over and over and over till they can't do it no more. Now, there are, again, when it comes to housing, a lot of people don't want to believe this because, for one, they look at how long it takes for these females to be eligible for Section A for housing. Now, we do know that when it comes to the Section A and housing, you do have to get on what's called a waiting list. Depending on what state you in, it could be years at a time. It could be months at a time. So a lot of people don't believe that females will intentionally womb hustle so they can be eligible for housing, based off the fact that it takes so long to get it. But again, you not looking at it from a hood rat mindset. They don't give a damn if it takes 3 years. They know they can stay with mama who been getting welfare for years. They can stay with somebody until they get that letter stating, okay, you have now come next on the list and you can start orientation next week. The hood rats got years to wait on housing. They don't care how long it takes. They don't care if they got to stay with mama, auntie, grandmama for 3-4 years until their name come up. You have some women, females, that are just that lazy. They will sit and wait 3-4 years on Section 8 housing just to get a place to stay. And in the meantime, they'll be having 3-4 more kids by the time they're eligible for housing. They finally can move into their Section 8 housing. There are women who do this for a living. It's hard for people to believe that because you don't have the mentality or the mindset to be that eager and so down on your luck that you're willing to put your name on a list and wait for 3-4 years till you eligible. What they got to lose doing it? Think about it. They're not planning on working. They're not going to school. They're not going to college. They got hood rat mamas, hood rat grandmamas who will let them live with them for 3-4 years, because in the meantime, even though it may take you a couple of years before you eligible for housing, guess what? You still getting your stamps. You still get your child support. You still getting your TANF check. So we can move that disclaim that these females aren't capable of getting pregnant and having children on purpose because it takes too long for them to get housing. They don't care at all. They don't care. Well, you already broke down. What you got to what you got to lose sitting on your ass? You got some females that's just that trifling. They will live with their grandma, mama, auntie for 3-4 years until housing lets them know, okay, you're up next on the list. They'll do it. There's been some instances in which there's some women I know, again, I'm just sharing personal experiences. I know this does not overall fit my narrative that what I'm saying is correct. I'm just giving examples. You can take from this what you want to take from it. She intentionally, every time she was up for a raise on her job, she intentionally declined it because she knew that if she agreed to get that raise, and keep in mind, because when you're getting stamps and welfare and stuff, you got to report that stuff every 6 months or once a year. Each state varies. She knew that if her next recertification, they saw an increase in her income, that she would lose her stamps, or her stamps would drop, or her TANF check benefits would drop. She intentionally kept her pay rate $8 or $10 an hour. When she'd been on this job for every bit of 6-7 years, she should have been getting at least 15 to 17 an hour. But to keep those rewards, not resources, to keep those welfare rewards, she would not try to better herself by letting them up her pay. Because again, once these females learn how welfare works, they learn to use it as a crutch. They learn not to better themselves, because welfare is a secondhand slavery. It makes you accept working for pennies in order to be eligible for it. Because a lot of these girls know, a lot of them been on it for years. They got multiple children. Every birth they've been on it. They know how welfare works. The most uneducated female is very educated when it comes to welfare. They can't read at a 3rd grade level, but they know how to play the system. And they know it starts with womb hustling. Getting knocked up from a dude that's dumb, slow, simp, or don't know no better. Again, this has nothing to do with the women who did try to do it the right way, and the baby daddy just ended up being a deadbeat. He ended up being a coward. I'm talking about these women who intentionally go on a mission to womb hustle. This is what they do as an art of survival. That we cannot believe that this does not exist. There are women who intentionally have children to be to obtain benefits through the system. They will do that before they go to a college, university, and fill out a college application. They'll go to the welfare office and fill out a welfare. application first. Before they go get a job where they can get extra income and they're already receiving child support, they'll go ask for a child support increase first before they get a job and make more money. No, they want the baby daddy to pay more money. I'm not working. The welfare already giving me everything sitting on my ass. So why should I be motivated to go get a job or do anything? And this is not for against the mothers who really need it. There are women who out here working and they struggling and they making it happen and around here bitching, complaining, acting like they the victim, going around here scalding the father of their children on social media, dragging how all men are deadbeats. You got women out here that are working with the struggle, they're making it happen, and they do need the help. I'm talking about these females who intentionally, every pregnancy, they get a baby shower, buying all the meatballs, potato salad, all that off the EPT card so everybody could come to their baby shower every year and bring them something. They're all women who make a living off of womb hustling. This is what they do. They scope out a guy who they think got money because they feel like the system has taught them. If they're already receiving child support from the other baby daddies and they done learned, okay, they giving me a certain amount of money because my baby daddy works at this place, my baby daddy is a truck driver for a living, or my baby daddy does construction. Once they start seeing how them checks look based off that man's income, a lot of these females will intentionally target low common denominator men that are not smart enough to protect themselves and protect their penis. Them the ones they target. They looking for the highest bidder. That is what the welfare womb hustler female does. She's looking for the highest bidder. She's looking for the construction guy with the construction uniform on. She's looking for a military guy because she thinks he makes X amount of money in the first and 15. And the truth is, a lot of these military guys ain't banking like that. It's the ones who have high ranks, who have been in the military for years. But the mind of a hood rat, she don't understand that. She's just looking at his uniform and in her mind, oh, he got money. I know he got money. He got to take care of me. He got to send me money on the first and the 15th every month. Not realizing he probably getting the lowest goddamn rank. He probably only getting $500 every 2 weeks on the first and the 15th. Not all women are smart at womb hustling. They look at a man and figure he got all X amount of dollars and he really don't. Or they are smart enough to know to look at the lawyer, look out for the men who are lawyers, longshoremen, who are older men who done retired, that's getting nice income. Some of them know how to go for certain guys. They'll try to get pregnant from the older men, knowing the older man, most of his kids are already grown. He has grandchildren. She may intentionally get pregnant by the older dude that's not smart enough to realize he's a grandfather. Last thing he needs is a child from an underage female. With a female that's not underage, but a female that's younger than him legally, where he can sexually be with and not get arrested. You know what I'm saying? You got younger women who go after older men who are retired, who getting them big checks. And every now and then you got some of these old men that they are dumb, they're slow. They'll get caught up, messing around, having sexual relations with these younger females. Because, older men can still have babies even if they're in their 60s or 70s. You know what I mean? Again, I say all that to say this. No, not all women are using the system to their advantage. Okay? At the same token, there are many women who are. Once they learn how the system does not really place major stipulations on things, these women learn that every time they get pregnant, caseworkers, the system don't place any stipulations and say, well, after 2 kids you're on your own, or they don't ask them any questions. Ma'am, this is your 3rd time having a child. after a year back to back, why are you not protecting yourself? Why are you not, making other priorities, making other plans in which you don't have to keep coming back to us? We have to keep supplying you. The system does not have any stipulations. The system does not make women be held accountable too much. However, they will make the father of the children be accountable, because if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, welfare is going to make sure that the man steps up. They're going to suspend his license. They're going to remove the tag off his car. Welfare is designed to penalize men that are deadbeat fathers, and men that are irresponsible, and men that are neglecting their responsibilities. Welfare, on the other hand, they do not penalize women that aren't being responsible, that are being deadbeat mothers, because let's face it, a lot of these women, some of these women are not taking care of the children correctly with the welfare benefits or the child support. Is women around here with their hair and their nails done, but their children looking like they're from a third world country. Welfare does not focus on the women as far as if they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're not keeping up with these women as far as how they spending their money. They're not making them report every 6 months to a year when they were certified for welfare and food stamps. Okay, well, do you got receipts showing you brought your kids clothes? Do you got receipts showing that you paying for them to go to be in sports, to be in ballerina? Welfare does not really hold women accountable to anything, but welfare is designed to hold the man accountable. If he messes up, he don't make his payments, he will get his license suspended. He will get his tag taken from his vehicle. Anytime the father, which is most of the time the non-custodial parent, if he's messing up, if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, welfare is going to make him answer for it. However, some of these irresponsible women, again, if it doesn't apply, you ain't got to reply. They can go to welfare 1,000 times, doing the same dumb stuff they've been doing, getting knocked up by random dudes who don't love them, don't care for them, don't want a relationship. Guess what? The caseworker is not going to question her about it. Welfare has no system or structure as to a certain time we're going to cut you off after the third child. We're not giving you any more benefits. There's no stipulations, there's no rules, there's no regulations. So therefore, a lot of women don't see they're doing anything wrong. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. How can you think you're doing anything wrong when somebody's constantly giving you something, but there's no stipulation? There's not a cutoff period. It's like a spoiled child. You buying them cars, you buying them this, you buying them that, but when they mess up and don't do right, you not taking nothing from them. You know what I mean? You still giving them more cars. You still giving them more things to enjoy. In any case, when females do lose welfare, it took something really extreme. Either they got caught selling drugs out of housing, either they got into a physical altercation, and it was reported to welfare where they lost their benefits, or either the child that's receiving welfare got locked up in juvenile, then they'll lose their benefits, or the child passed away. It has to be something very extreme in order for welfare to deny the woman of getting her benefits. For the man, not so much. He could just miss one payment and they already over his ass. So this is why you have a lot of women who got an attitude anytime when you try to tell them about why they need to be responsible, why they need to be held accountable. They ain't trying to hear that, because welfare does not even make them answer to it. So the last thing they want to do is have to answer to anybody else who has anything to say about it, okay? Because welfare ain't saying nothing about it. So anyway, I just want to give my intake on this, because a lot of people don't believe that women or females aren't out here womb hustling, and they are. You have some women that got several kids to show for, but don't have a job to show for, don't have education to show for, don't have morals. She has a child every year, and only thing she can show for is how much EPT SNAP benefits she gets a month, Medicaid, TANF checks, Section 8 vouchers. She can show you all of that. You have women that their children are their meal ticket. A lot of these females, if it wasn't for welfare looking out for them, a lot of them wouldn't have the things that they have. A lot of them wouldn't be able to survive. A lot of women are surviving because of their children. Their children are the reasons they're eligible for the housing, for the food stamps. A lot of women wouldn't make it if it wasn't for their children. Because when you go get these benefits, you have to prove that you have children. And the more children you have, the more benefits you are eligible for. The more resources you're able to obtain. So, anyway, in conclusion, to wrap this up, yes, there are women who specifically survive off of womb hustling. And there are other women who survive off of making an honest and decent living for themselves. So anyway, I'm going to get ready to shut it down. It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, represent Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Please, before y'all leave, please hit that like button. Please share, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Do not forget, I do sell cable for 9,000 channels. So instead of paying these separate apps like Stars and HBO, because you got your little favorite series that you like to watch, don't be paying all these separate apps. You can get all your live, current series, movies, everything, 9,000 channels, all for only $25 a month. If you have a Fire Stick, you don't have a Fire Stick, I can provide one for you. Those of you who are interested in ordering a tumbler before Valentine's Day as a gift for someone special, please make sure you inbox me at Cafe de Paris 79 at yahoo.com. Y'all be blessed. Take care.